Fuck you, dogs matter. Nick and Chris coming at you from Bucks Dog Training, where we are passionate about empowering individuals to reclaim their relationship with their dogs. We facilitate effective communication between dogs and their humans, enabling them to forge stronger connections and achieve their training goals. Through our efforts, we aim to create a community where everyone can experience the joys of a great life with their dogs. Hey everyone, Nicole Buck here with Buck's Dog Training. I have Nick and Chris coming at you live. Well, actually, we're recording, but we are coming at you with Stephanie, our trainer from Virginia. She's in the house with us today. So you guys are really lucky because we got three of us in the same house talking to you today. And then on our video, we have additional guests. We have Laura Federico in the house from VA, and we have Maya, also from Virginia, and Shelby, also from Virginia. So we got a Virginia crew representing today. They are going to talk about anxiety cases, anxiety in dogs. They have a cool presentation that they put together. We want to take this opportunity to really show you, hey, what does it look like to have a dog that's anxious? What can you do about it? And, what can you do to prevent it? So they've put a really cool little presentation together. I'm going to hand it over to them and let them go through what that looks like, explain in detail. And then from there, if anyone has any questions, you can always message us, DM us, call us, text. We're available.
We are so super excited to be here with Nick and Chris, Bucks Dog Training. So really proud to be a part of this organization and what you guys are doing for real. Anxious dogs, how can we help and how do we help? I actually became a professional dog trainer because I had two very anxious dogs of my own and was just way over my head. And I received a tremendous amount of help and learned how to help. And I am passionate about helping dogs with anxiety. In doing this presentation, what we learned as a team from Virginia was a lot of dogs that we service have anxiety. And when Maya takes over, she'll talk about the increase in anxiety in dogs, which is like so much more than we could have ever imagined. And believe it or not, my three trainers, myself, Maya, and Shelby, all have anxious and reactive dogs. So it is prevalent. It is a big problem. And it's something we as trainers see all the time. So we want to talk about, how to help. What are some of the signs and symptoms? What are some treatment? Some of the things that we found to be helpful. So I'd like to say, welcome Shelby, welcome Maya, welcome Laura. We specialize in helping anxious dogs, and hopefully this presentation will help some folks out there. So as I said, for me, when I started, I was a decent dog trainer, and then I rescued these two lovely pups from the island of Curacao. It's where I learned that anxiety can be genetic, and that's something we'll talk about a little bit more in the podcast. But I thought, if you loved them enough, if you trained them enough, you'd be good. And I loved and trained these dogs with my whole heart and didn't get very far. And that's when professional help made a huge, huge difference. Maya also has an anxious dog, and Shelby does as well. They'll talk about that in a little bit. So, for us, just defining what it is. So there is obviously, or not obviously, fear-related anxiety. And then there is age-related anxiety. And then there is separation anxiety. And Maya's going to talk a little bit more about the separation anxiety. But as trainers, we talk about, how when you're training a puppy, how important it is to expose them, but expose them safely and in a smart way during those fear periods and their learning, development.
Right.
Separation anxiety is also big. Go ahead, Nicole.
So just for those who may not have video on their podcast, if they're just listening to this through audio, I just want to take a moment to read the definitions for people who can't see it. So what we're looking at right now is a document that was put together, kind of like a PowerPoint presentation, and we're defining what is fear-related anxiety, what is separation anxiety, and what is age-related anxiety. And so that defined, we just want to spell that out for you. So fear-related anxiety can be caused by loud noises, strange people or animals, visual stimuli like cats or umbrellas, new or strange environments, specific situations like the vet's office or car rides, or surfaces like grass or wood floors, linoleum. I know dogs who've been afraid of linoleum floors. Although some dogs may only have brief reactions to these kind of stimuli, they may affect anxious dogs more consequentially. So that's fear-related anxiety. Now, separation anxiety, on the other hand, is estimated to affect around 14% of all dogs. Dogs with separation anxiety are unable to find comfort when they are left alone or separated from their family members. This anxiety often manifests itself in undesirable behaviors such as urinating and defecating in the house, destroying furniture and furnishings, and barking. I know some anxious dogs who literally chew through walls and pipes to get out of that room. Age-related anxiety affects older dogs and can be associated with cognitive dysfunction syndrome, CDS. In dogs with CDS, memory, learning, perception, and awareness start to decline, similar to the early stages of Alzheimer's in humans. This understandably leads to confusion and anxiety in senior dogs. So for anyone out there who was wondering, okay, what are these terms? What do they mean? We wanted to clearly define it for those who can't actually see the presentation, so you understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, if you can't define it, you can't understand it.
Exactly.
So I'm going to let Maya take over the next couple of slides about some statistics, because it really is interesting to really take a look at how many dogs are affected.
Yeah, so first off, thank you for having me up here. And it was really interesting when we were doing a lot of research for this presentation. We have all of our work cited at the end, but exactly how many dogs are affected by anxiety, it's about 72.5% worldwide. And then that being 580 was that million? Yeah, million dogs worldwide. So yeah, million dogs worldwide. So it is in so many dogs. So many dogs. And there's a whole wide scale to that. It can be, light reactivity to some sounds that can cause that type of anxious behavior, all the way up to it being genetic, to the dog just not being desensitized or worked properly at a young age. So just knowing the true statistics, I mean, that's over half of the dogs on this planet have a form of anxiety, which is just very interesting to look at.
What would be interesting if we knew what the correlation was between anxious dogs and anxious humans? Because I would bet
gonna say
that it's pretty close pairing.
Probably is hardly any difference.
Yeah, that would be an interesting statistic. We'll have to make sure we look that up, because I know there are a lot of anxious people in the world today, and COVID didn't help, obviously, but the anxiety level spiked in a lot of the world. And I can see why dogs have it, because they start to take on the characteristics of their environment. And if they're around anxious people, they're going to start to become anxious.
Yep. And depression. Everybody is so depressed. It unfortunately on the dogs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have some statistics in here as well of just from the time period of COVID, the rates that have changed. But then the next slide just has some pictures of some anxious dogs that we have personally trained. And just like the last year working with Bucks, I mean, we have had a lot of dogs. So for the people that can see the visual, this slide and the next slide are just showing you a few. This isn't even all of them. This is just a few of the anxious dogs that we have personally trained.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're really honest, I would say 80% of the dogs that we get in have some sort of anxiety problem where just coping with real world situations makes them very uncomfortable.
And just for those that are listening, the pictures that we have, there are almost 40 dogs in just between the two slides.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 40 dogs that have come in with anxiety.
And it's in 1 year.
Yeah, and that's not that's just for one location. We
Yeah.
have 7 locations, so multiply
Mhm.
that by 7.
You know, this is such a huge part of just knowing your breed and their background. So many people are going out and getting dogs and not really aware of the mental stimulation that they need or the physical stimulation that they need. And we're seeing that even especially in our shelters, the statistics from 2020 to 2022 showed that separation anxiety has an increase of 700% in dogs.
Wow.
Wow.
That because they're not used to being without their owner. That is insane. That is
Right.
such a huge increase.
Well, again, that's COVID.
Fear of
I mean, it's
strangers has
amazing
gone up
the effect.
295%.
Yeah, it's amazing
Yeah.
the effect that COVID had.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it right
Yep.
there in that number. 700%. That's outrageous. But that's what COVID did.
Yep. Yep. And the fear of other dogs as well increased 43.52%. And this is just within the shelters. You know, these are the dogs that have been, you know, given up.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the time for it anymore. They're alone all the time. They're in the crate a lot. These are those dogs.
Mm-hmm.
This is a result of COVID.
Yep, absolutely.
I think part of it also is the dogs being in the shelters. So the dog goes into the shelter, next thing you know, 60 days pass,
Mhm.
90 days pass.
Mm-hmm.
So this also increases the level of anxiety in these dogs because there's lack of mental stimulation.
Yeah.
Like
That's
all they
awful.
hear all day long is the other dogs
Mhm.
barking, right?
Mhm.
And you know, all these volunteers that are helping them, they can only take them out, rotate the dogs. It's not like they can really truly spend a lot of quality time with them.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
it actually, you know, their condition
Mm-hmm.
doesn't get better, it gets worse because they're not being mentally stimulated.
Yep. Absolutely.
So this is showing that recent studies, they evaluated 260 different breeds. The most anxious breeds consisted of German Shepherds, Border Collies, miniature Schnauzers. I have a really hard time pronouncing this, but I think it's Legato Romagnola,
Romagnolo.
a Spanish water dog.
So Legato
Italian.
Romagnolo.
Thank you.
Romagnolo.
And most interestingly, mixed breeds. So I think that again, knowing your breed when you're getting a dog, also being aware, where do they fall on that chart? What needs do they have that need to be met?
Right. Well, honestly, the mixed breed doesn't surprise me that much
Mm-hmm.
because they're already confused. They've got so many different
The
instincts pulling at them in different directions. It doesn't surprise me that they would be anxious.
Yeah. Depends on the breed too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
the mixed breed is the only dog that is in the top 3 for every category of the anxious dog. So when they were doing and these these tests to see, are they more, do they have more separation anxiety? Do they have more sound sensitivity? In every one of those categories, the mixed breed was in one of the top 3 categories for each
Wow.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Each and every single one.
Hmm.
It is the only breed that was in every single one.
Well, I think what would be defined under the mixed breed is because there's so many doodles now,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? And that would fall under
Mhm.
the category of mixed breeds,
Oh, I guess it would depend.
you know, because there's so many of them now.
Mhm.
You have your Bernedoodles, Labradoodles, Golden Doodles.
Aussie doodles,
Yep.
sheepadoodles. Yeah.
Exactly. So
I think they even started making Roddy doodles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Oh
think-
no,
would look like a
no,
rat with a
why?
bad fur or something, you know?
Well,
On a
stick.
bad hair day.
Oh yeah. Time.
So
But you know what, it does lend itself to the question of, you know, when you get a mixed breed, or, you know, just that push for rescuing, which, you know, everybody on my team is all about. But there is that component of the chances of that dog having anxiety
Hmm.
are much greater, and
Yeah.
it is a consideration.
Yeah. Because you don't know what you're getting,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and this is a topic that I had talked
Mhm.
about in the past on one of the lives that I did last year. You know, live and let live. If people want to rescue, I'm all for it. Absolutely 100%. But if people want to go out there and buy a specific breed of dog because they know it's going to fit their lifestyle, and they want the assurance that it's going to be healthy, it's going to have good genetic breeding, it's going to have good temperament, then why would you make that person feel guilty? You know, shop versus adopt. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous because that's why dogs end up in shelters. Oh, I want to do the right thing. I want to adopt, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I can't handle this dog. This dog is crazy. This dog is biting everyone in my house.
Mhm.
Okay. Because you don't know what you're getting. And people who don't know what they're getting and don't know what they're doing end up adopting a dog and then throwing it right back into the shelter system.
Right. Well, a lot of the breeds, if they don't do their research on the breed,
Mm-hmm.
great dog, just not the right fit.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So those are the dogs you're going to see in the shelter as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it really doesn't matter. I've had both. I've had
Absolutely.
dogs coming in, dogs that I didn't even know, like, you know, what the kids bringing home. Okay. Hey, I'm guilty. I've done it myself to my mom. So it's payback.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, it doesn't really matter because you can get it from a breeder, but then you can have those backyard breeders.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
depending upon like
Mm-hmm.
health issues, or if the mother was nervous, carries on to the puppies.
Mhm.
Right. So, you know, it really doesn't matter
Yeah.
to me, either way you go. Like, I don't believe, you know, okay, if you're going to get a dog from a breeder, that there's not going to be issues.
Exactly.
Okay. Because you got to look for the breeder who's breeding for temperament.
Yep. 100%.
So some of the causes, I'll take this slide, you know, very interesting. You know, dogs are pack animals, are attached to us, need good leadership, need to feel part of, need to feel like somebody else is driving. And so back and forth between a shelter or different homes can affect them. You know, genetics, like we just spoke about, I think that's very interesting because we had 99 and Giorgio, for example, we had them from before they were born. They were fed chicken and rice from the minute they came out. They were loved. They were well taken care of. They were well socialized, and they still came out having severe anxiety, you know, similar to people, right? I mean, people can be raised very well and still suffer from anxiety. Fear, you know, I know we've talked about it in other podcasts in terms of being very smart about how you socialize your puppy during those fear stages. Noises, fireworks, sirens, you know, all that stuff, of things that can cause anxiety. Obviously, abuse, aging, as we talked about in that definition slide, and then improper socialization.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's define that for people, because people are like, well, I thought all socialization was good, and it's not. It really is not. So,
No.
you know, like taking a dog to a dog park, absolutely no. Do not do it. 100%. Please do not take your dog to a dog park. That is definitely improper socialization. Now, if you want your dog to be fearful, if you want your dog to get attacked, if you want your dog to potentially get sick, then absolutely yes, take it to a dog park. But if you don't want those things for your dogs, please, by all that's holy, avoid dog parks.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about dog parks for a minute, because
Mhm.
before I knew better and I didn't have a place to take, I had a Vizsla, right?
Mhm.
If that dog didn't run off leash, nobody in the house was happy. She needed some exercise, and the
Mhm.
dog park in a city environment was the one place I could take her and let her,
Yeah.
be off leash. So,
Mhm.
a lot of times folks go early in the morning or later at night, but between the people who are on their phones, have dogs that aren't trained, aren't socialized, aren't vaccinated, like the risk at a dog park is so high
Yeah, oh yeah.
that
Mhm.
I think that's an important point to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I agree. Dog parks would be a great place if all the owners were responsible.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's not a free daycare.
exactly.
Being on your phone, letting your
Mhm.
dog play. That's like saying, yeah, letting your child just go play in the park. I'm going to sit here and be on my phone. You're going to have
Mhm.
your eye on that kid.
Mhm.
It's got to be the same with the dogs,
Yep, exactly.
right?
Yeah, and most people don't do that. They're
Mhm.
like, oh, they're just having fun. They're just playing. It's, it's whatever. It's not whatever.
Mhm.
It's how dogs get attacked. It's how it creates dog reactivity,
Mhm.
because pack animals will pick on the weakest member, and then the rest of them will jump in. And now you have one dog being attacked by a whole lot of other dogs, and then they'll start to fight amongst each other. I've seen it happen. One little spark and bam, ignition. And then you have an all out fight.
And
No one's
also,
escaping that one.
We see it all the time.
and also,
I'm sorry, go
making
ahead.
sure that also socializing them with people the correct way too, as far as having that control. I've seen a
Mhm.
lot of people take their dogs to meet people to get socialized, but then
Yeah.
for us, we're trainers. If the dog jumps, we tell them no. A lot of people let anybody greet their puppy so excited with so much
Mhm.
energy, throwing so much attention, letting the puppy jump, and that's just reinforcing that type of neurotic behavior as well. So
Exactly.
making sure you properly socialize them with people too is super important.
100%. And that is such an awesome point, and something, again, is so important that people really understand. What are you doing with your dog? How are you socializing them? Make sure you do the right things. Okay. Don't have a dog. I don't care how cute it is, how small it is. If you don't want that dog to do it as an adult, and they're going to grow to be 100 pounds, don't let them do it when they're small. Just don't.
The other thing is, we are so spoiled as a society because a lot of dogs are dog and human friendly.
Yes.
And people get shocked and surprised when they get a dog who's dog selective or
Mhm.
people selective, or doesn't like all dogs, doesn't like certain types of dogs. And now you've got a management issue where, maybe your whole life, your experience has been just a happy-go-lucky dog. And we're
Yep.
all very lucky. I've had plenty of those dogs myself,
Mhm.
but there are a lot of dogs that are not dog friendly, or they're dog selective.
Yes. Great point.
So some of the symptoms, and probably it if you have an anxious or reactive dog, but just to know that you're not crazy, here are some signs that are relatively obvious that dogs can have. So if they're urinating or defecating in ways that are not at appropriate time, not in appropriate place, that incessant whining. We
Mm.
probably all know, I've heard those dogs. The barking that doesn't stop, shivering. I mean, we just turned over a dog tonight. His name was Petey. He was a reactive dog and also a nervous dog. And as soon as he got uncomfortable, he would start shivering.
Mhm.
Destructive behavior, dogs who eat through crates, eat the walls, like
Mhm.
Nicole was talking about. We don't, sometimes we talk about anxiety. We don't realize that often correlates into hostile and aggressive behavior. And,
Yep.
Christine and Nicole are experts at dealing with dogs who are aggressive, but they're oftentimes aggressive and nervous, which is,
Mhm.
if we ask
That's a
these
double
two,
whammy.
I was going to say, if we ask these two, they
Man.
probably
That's the worst.
It's a deadly combination.
Yeah, give me a dominant aggressive dog any
Any
day
day.
over an anxious, fearful, aggressive dog. It takes so much longer.
and so much more unpredictable, right?
To a degree, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know what you're looking for, you can sort of predict. I'm kind of almost down to a science. I can tell when a dog is going to launch itself or is ready to snap because they do give you a lot of signals, 99% of the time. But the ones that are truly unpredictable, the ones that don't give you an indicator, those are the most dangerous. They absolutely are. Because they'll look at you and they're giving you the signal of, yeah, I'm afraid, but I'm so afraid I'm just going to cower. And then bam, that's when they strike.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that you have to be careful of.
Right. And then they cower and you're like, oh, poor baby.
Yes.
And then they
suck you in and then they launch.
a couple other symptoms, just, you know, a lack of eating or loss of appetite, withdrawn, won't take treats, right? Or repetitive or compulsive behavior. Stay tuned. We are actually getting a dog in tomorrow morning. His name is Howard, German Shepherd, came from an abusive situation, and he bites his tail to the point where they were thinking about having to amputate it. So we're going to really work hard and definitely rely on the whole team to see if we can help this guy turn around. But he's been practicing that behavior for a very, very long time.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I've had dogs literally lick themselves.
And Nicole, you've had
like lick their paw to the point where it was bleeding and they still wouldn't stop.
And in all honesty, the dogs that like lick themselves to like it's raw, there's no more fur there. So those dogs, that's really anxiety, stress. When we see something like that, it's kind of like, I would ask the owners, what's going on at home? Like, what's going on in this dog's life?
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes people don't realize it, but if there's a lot of tension in the household, you know, if there's people going through a divorce, mourning the loss of a loved one, everybody's so busy dealing with the adults, they're not really thinking about the dog, but they actually feel it too. They actually know what's going on.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's what's going on at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, this slide.
And Nicole, you've had a few. Sorry.
Go ahead, Maya. You're fine.
You've had a few dogs that have also practiced like that sucking, like pacifying behavior.
Oh yeah.
Which I had never really witnessed before until working with you. And I think that can really fall in that category. And it's something that a lot of people don't really think it's anxiety because, it's like a baby. But it is, I mean, they'll do it till their cheeks are raw.
Yeah. I mean, you think of it kind of like, a kid sucking on his thumb. It's okay up to a certain point. But then after a certain point, you're like, okay, now that's just weird. Like a 2-3-year-old doing it. Yeah, okay, it's cute, whatever. But when you have like a 15, 16, 20-year-old doing it, there's something wrong, right? There's definitely something wrong. So, when you have a puppy doing it because it's just suckling and nursing from its mom, and then you have a 1-year-old doing it, you're like, okay. And by the way, a 1-year-old dog is equivalent to like a teenager. Now suddenly, okay, that's really weird.
We recently saw a dog at a vet who was so anxious it literally clung with its arms like a baby to the owner, and the owner kind of was into it, I think. Oh, look at it. But the dog was about 4 months old, 5 months old, like too old, had been practicing that since birth. So it had already become an ingrained behavior. And he was going to be too big to do that. He was not being taught to cope. He was being allowed to just cling.
Talking about treatment. I think this slide is one that we could spend a lot of time on because as trainers,
yes,
I think this is where we come in and really make the difference. By the time we get these dogs, the owners have watched a bunch of YouTube videos and have, tried a bunch of things.
Yes.
And I think some of those things are good, but if you don't get results, that's where a professional comes in and can really help. So number one, just building confidence in good leadership. For us, that's not just it for a cookie. We we work on, when people say, oh, my dog whines, can you just get it to stop whining? We're like, yeah, we can, but actually we treat the whole picture. Your dog,
Yes.
that's just a symptom
Mm.
of why your dog is so anxious.
Mhm.
And so for us, that building confidence and good, solid leadership, solid obedience
Mhm.
makes a huge difference in all dogs, but especially dogs with anxiety. So I figured
Mhm.
like one bullet at a time, we should
Mhm.
talk about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, how that
Mhm.
works and how you guys have used that to be
Right.
beneficial.
And I think that's so valid. Just that one point by you saying, like, people can say, oh, can you just fix this one problem? Like,
Yeah.
my dog is great, but it has this one problem.
Mhm.
And it's not like we have this magic remote.
Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of times
Mhm.
my dog is great in the house, excessive barking, like
Mhm.
constant barking. Like, I just need you to stop the barking.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's components to that,
Right.
right? It's not, what are the triggers? What's
Mhm.
in your dog's head? What's causing this?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So it's
Yeah.
not just about the barking. You got to go dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
Right. And I think sometimes people don't realize that there's more to it.
Mhm.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's kind of, there's a couple puzzle pieces that are missing. And it's like, we have to put it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And another
Mhm.
component that you mentioned, the building confidence. There are so many different exercises that you can do that we put the dogs through to help build that confidence, because building confidence isn't just, kumbaya, let's do this, make the dog, yay, cheer, cheer, cheer. All right, yeah, you're so good. No, you have to build confidence through mental and physical stimulation. Yeah. Building confidence in humans, maybe. Yeah. We're all cheerleaders. We're going to cheer you on, boom, boom. Yeah. We're going to give you all these affirmations and things like that. But in the dog training world, they don't speak our language. They don't know what that means. They need to understand in a language that they truly can grasp and understand. What is that? What does that look like? So for them, building confidence is challenging their brain and challenging their body. And teaching them to be uncomfortable is not a bad thing. In fact, if you're uncomfortable long enough, eventually you're going to get comfortable with it. And so we show them
Mhm.
that, hey, this is not a bad situation. You're actually in pretty good hands here. And then eventually, once they start to get that confidence where they're not afraid anymore, then you can do other things that we're going to talk
Build off
about.
of that.
Yeah,
You take that momentum
absolutely.
and you run with it.
Absolutely.
Like, but you have to be
Mhm.
realistic with it though. It's kind of like pushing them a little bit out of their
Mhm.
comfort zone and basically, yes, giving them encouragement, saying,
Yes.
yes, you can do this A-frame. Come on,
Mhm.
come on. Give
Mhm.
them that support
Yep.
because they're like, no. They don't even want to go up.
Yes.
But once you kind of say, come on, let's go. And
Mhm.
and Nicole will be the first one to jump up there with them. Okay.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned for the bloopers.
Uh-huh.
But basically, once you get them up and you take them up, they're like, whoa, that wasn't so bad. And then
Exactly.
the next thing, what happens? They're doing it themselves.
Mhm.
And then they're looking at you like,
Mhm.
I just did this.
Yep.
Or they'll
Yeah.
sit up at the top being so proud of themselves.
Exactly.
Like, you just sometimes, you got to read the dog. Okay. You
Mhm.
got to be realistic on when to push, how to push, just enough, and
How
then
far?
build.
Yes. How
Build.
far to push?
Yes.
Yeah. And when to lend a helping hand, because people like, oh well, they should know this. How are they going to know that? They don't. Did you come out of the womb speaking English and knowing how to read books and how to do all these amazing things that you do in life? No, someone had to teach you. You have to teach the dog. You have to teach the dog how to get up on an
Mhm.
A-frame, get on a high rail, do a seesaw. You have to teach them that. Sometimes you have to get on there with them. Sometimes you have to just guide them. Sometimes you physically have to hold them on it. But these are things that you do. You challenge them and you get them to the point where, okay, this isn't so hard. One of the things that I like to do with dogs is put them on an unstable surface, like a wobble board or a cart at like a Home Depot, and move the cart around under them. Because now their entire structure is unstable. With the surface that they're on is unstable, and they have to make sense of that, and they have to learn how to navigate and balance their body, each individual leg and paw and their head and their body. How are they going to coordinate all of that on a surface that's constantly moving on them? Yeah. Have you ever tried it? Have you ever sat through an earthquake where you're trying to stand and the whole ground is shaking under you. It's scary. It is incredibly
Mhm.
scary.
Yes.
You know
But
what I love about
once they get confident,
I know.
then they
Go ahead,
once
Laura.
they ace those challenges, then that gives them confidence. Then they
Yeah.
have something to replace the anxiety with.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the point of why we do those building confidence exercises. They're so critical as a component to helping with anxiety cases. People don't realize how critical that one component is. And leading to that are the mental challenges. This is why I'm saying you got to challenge the body, but you also have to challenge the mind. The mind is working while the body's working. They're trying to figure out, how do I not fall off this thing? Or how do I get off this thing? Because, oh my gosh, just get me off of here. It's so scary. And they have to go through that mental challenge of dealing with it.
And that's why we call it balanced training.
Absolutely.
And then you have the dogs too that they have to also learn how to be okay by themselves. We
Mhm.
have so many dogs that are like pocket dogs. They want to be, right up on you the whole time, but
Oh, yeah.
giving them some space, allowing them to have some space and showing them like, look, you are okay by yourself. It's completely dependent on the dog too, and just having them realize like you don't have to be right under me
Mhm.
the whole time, and
Yeah.
changing that mental state of mind for them is huge because you are literally rewiring their brain.
Yeah, absolutely. I do something with the dogs that come in, where most of them, once they actually start to get out of their shell, oh my God, Velcro. Literally, if they could crawl into my body, they would. And I'm like, no, go away. And so I will force them to be by themselves. So one of the things that I do is I will rotate them outside where they are literally by themselves outside. Now I will stand in a room where I can see everything that's happening, but they are literally outside by themselves for 5, 10, 15 minutes while I'm observing them to see how are they adapting. Because some of them will literally just stand right by the door the entire time. And then others will slowly start to be like, okay, and now let me back in. And then they'll start to explore. And then they'll get further and further and further away from the door. And then that's when I know, okay, they're starting to come out of their shell. They're starting to realize, okay, it's not so bad. Let me see what I can do. Let me see what trouble I can get into. That's, to me, once they get to that stage, then I know I got them. Then I know they've turned that corner.
Yeah.
On number 3, predictability, that is
Yeah.
very interesting because with dogs, similar to say a kid on the spectrum, having a routine, knowing what to expect can decrease anxiety. However, on the flip side, none of these is a fix for everything, right? It depends on the dog. So predictability also can increase anxiety. The dog sees you put on your shoes, means you're leaving. Dog freaks out. Grab your keys, you're leaving. Dog freaks out. So, it is about knowing your dog and knowing how to help your dog, but also being predictable when it helps, but also being unpredictable. Sometimes I'll just go around, put my shoes on, grab my keys, and then take them off and put them back down again. Like, you don't know what's happening. So for some dogs, that actually keeps them in a calmer state because they're like, oh, she's just picking up the keys. That means nothing.
Yeah.
For the dogs, they know which foot touches the ground in the morning when you wake up. They know when you brush your teeth, and they know when you're going out.
Yeah.
They study us and they know us. So for an anxious dog, they're like, oh, this means this. So we have to pair it with an association that reinforces calm.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Musical
good.
therapy. I've used this on anxious dogs before in the past all the time. My favorite thing to play, if it's not classical music, is things like Enya. My dogs love Enya. I think there's one album called Watermark. I think that's what it's called. My dogs love it. I actually enjoy it too. I'll play that when I want to sleep. But boom, bring a dog down, calm it down, almost immediately. It's amazing.
We have every night when we put the dogs to bed, we spray this very lovely aroma therapy. It's an anti-ghost spray. We bless the kennel and we spray this very nice anti-ghost spray, and we play classical music. And I just read that, I didn't realize until this presentation that harp music was also conducive to reducing anxieties in dogs. So I pulled up a playlist of harp music. So stay posted. We just started playing that in the kennel. I'll let you know if we have a good effect with that.
Nice. Very nice. Massage
Mozart is
and
also
physical
supposed to be
contact.
good.
I'm sorry?
Mozart is also supposed to be good. They've done studies about Mozart that if they play it softly in the background, people will stop arguing and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I when we had puppies that were anxious, we used to play a playlist. It's called Mozart for Babies, and we used to play that for them.
Baby Einstein.
Exactly.
Yeah, I used to love Fairlies. That was one of my favorite pieces to listen to
Yeah.
and to play. Yeah, physical contact massages. And Reiki. I don't know a whole lot about Reiki. I just know that it can be very helpful. But I use massage and physical contact a lot to calm a dog down. The super anxious ones. The biggest mistake people make though is they start petting their dog, which is very different than the physical contact or massaging to relax a dog. So that's one of the differentiators we need to be very crystal clear about. When you're just petting a dog, that's mostly for you. It's not for the dog. And it's to help you feel more centered, grounded, calm. And you're just basically using the dog to help you do that. So you're just kind of petting it, stroking the dog. Whereas an actual massage or physical contact, most of the time when it's just physical contact, you're just touching. You're not really doing any kind of movement. You're just passing your calm energy to the dog through physical contact or even through Reiki. Massage, on the other hand, is relaxing the dog through manipulating the muscles to relax them. So it's not petting, it's actual massage where you're doing either some type of pressure or some type of deep stroke to relax and soothe the dog's muscles, which will then go into relaxing their mindset and their brain.
I happen to be Reiki trained, and it is exactly that. We in the past, right, even the days of the caveman, if they stubbed their toe on a big stone, what did they do? They would take their hands and put it on something that hurt, right? Kid walks up to you and says, "Hey, I have a headache." What's the first thing you do? You rub it, right? So Reiki is just what Nicole was saying. It's just laying on of hands. It's not petting. It's not moving it. It's just allowing healing energy to go from you to the dog. But I think it's just that calm state.
Yes.
Again, we talk about the anxiety traveling through us, through the leash into the dog. So if you're in a calm, relaxed state and you're putting your hands on your dog without petting, just letting your hands be there, we have done that with several dogs and have found that with some dogs, it makes a significant difference.
Is it kind of like chi?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. You're just transferring your energy.
Also, we work in Virginia with a woman who is a full-time masseuse for humans, but she does come and massage our dogs also.
Yeah, I believe in massage. I do it all the time for my dogs, and I pass my energy on to them all the time. In fact, I've had trainers tell me they've never seen someone be able to put a dog to sleep as fast as I can. So it's a real thing. It really is. It's just, what is your intention, and then pass that on to the dog through your energy. It's really that simple and that difficult. It's easier to say, it's harder to do, because you have to be calm and centered. Otherwise, you're not passing anything to that dog other than your own chaotic thoughts. Medication. This is a hot topic.
Yeah. It made it 6th on the list, but it has to go up there, right? Our philosophy pretty much here is we like to see the dogs, what do we call, raw?
Yeah.
In their natural state of mind.
Right?
Yes.
Not medicated. We much prefer that.
Yeah.
Because if we can do, and you guys obviously are the experts in this topic, but if we can see the dog in its natural state,
Mhm.
and we can do these other things, we would much rather try and see where we can get.
Yes.
But we need to put it up there as a treatment because there are certain dogs,
Yes.
just like humans, that it could be beneficial.
Yeah, I'm not saying medication in and of itself is 100% bad all the time. That's ridiculous.
Mm.
Because yes, there are instances where medication is absolutely critical, it's necessary, and you just need it. There's no escaping that. There is a need in certain circumstances. Is it way overdone? Are dogs and humans way over medicated?
Yeah.
I will 100%
Mhm.
go to the mat on this one. Yes, 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 100,000% yes. I
Mhm.
think as a society, as a nation, as a country, we are all too pill happy. They don't want to deal with the root cause. They don't want to do the effort that it takes to fix the problem. They'd rather just put a band-aid on it and say, okay, I'm going to deal with the feelings and not the actual problem. They'd rather deal with the feelings than the problem. The problem
Mhm.
isn't the feelings. The problem
It's not a
is,
pixel.
yeah, the problem is at its core, this dog does not know how to handle certain things. People don't know how to handle certain stimuli. That's the problem. How are you going to deal with it? Are you going to medicate yourself and the dog, or are you going to teach it how to deal with its environment?
Right. And if we look at 1 through 5, those all take work,
Yeah.
time, effort, right? I can give anybody a pill. I
Yeah.
can put a pill in peanut butter,
Mhm.
right? And if that zonks my dog out and they no longer bark incessantly, we think, oh, wow,
It's fixed.
problem solved.
Mhm.
And what we're saying is like, no, 1 through 5,
Mm-mm.
and especially 1, I mean,
Yeah.
especially 1, that is time consuming and
Mhm.
an effort
Yeah,
compared
absolutely.
to putting a pill in a pill pocket. Sorry,
Yeah.
Christine, I knew you were going to say
Oh
something.
no, I mean I agree 100%. Like when the dogs come in, for us, it's give us the fair shot with the dog.
Yes.
Okay. Like in all fairness, the dog's just coming into the program.
Mhm.
Let us have this dog in its natural state of mind. Because clearly, if you've had the dog on medication and it's coming to us,
Mhm.
It's
they're
not working.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
exactly.
you.
It's not.
working. At the end of the day, give us our opportunity, right? Because like for me, I thirst to work with these dogs because
Yes.
it's like they've been living this way for so long,
Mhm.
right? At the end of the day, when the training is done, if you can't see the improvement in the dog, then put your dog back on the medication.
Yeah.
Okay. Like when you go home, if you feel that it was working, because for them, I think what it is the owners have an anxiety too.
100%.
And for them, they feel calmer mentally to say,
Mhm.
I put this, oh, this is what helps. No,
Mhm.
it's just masking it because they're avoiding the problem.
Mhm.
Whereas we're
Yeah.
saying, we're going to work with your dog and
Mhm.
face that problem.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's,
we're gonna
that's
yeah,
really
we're gonna
what
deal
it
with it
is.
head on. We're gonna deal with it head on. We're gonna
Mhm.
acknowledge it, and we're gonna fix it. We're gonna solve the problem. We're gonna solve it. We're not gonna just put a band-aid on and say, okay, it's all right. You're good. You don't feel anymore. That's all we need is you not to feel anymore. That's it. Then you won't bother me. And that's
Mhm.
it. We're
Mhm.
good. But it's not good. Who wants to live like half alive?
Yep.
To me, that's just no way to live.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're very passionate about that subject.
Yeah.
And
We
you know,
are.
I could literally talk all day about it, but I won't because I will bore people to death.
We'll save that for another.
But I
podcast.
I mean, that is probably one of my hottest buttons. I get so fired up about dogs who are so over medicated. And the reason why is because I know it's not one, it's not helping them, but two, it's actually damaging them. You're forcing a dog to live a half life where they can't even function, they can't think, they have no life. They really have no life.
From
I think
addictions
it
to
goes
them, like
back to what Maya was saying about know your breed.
Mhm.
And I think this is something that we don't want to address or really talk about, even myself. Like, I own a German short hair pointer. I work 9 to 5. I leave the house at 7 a.m. I come home at 7 p.m. The dog gets maybe an hour of me. And I've got a dog that is built like a machine, like an Olympic athlete,
Yes.
you know? And so that the amount of time that we have to put into our dogs often is not enough for the breed
Agreed.
that we choose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think
100%.
that leads to a lot of this stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely know your breed, know what you're getting yourself into. And if you can't handle it, don't get it.
Mhm.
It's as simple as that.
Or if you're making that commitment,
Mhm.
then make that commitment, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't just give family back to the shelter. You
Mhm.
know what
You'd
I'm
be
saying?
surprised. I know.
And to me, it's like, okay, I get it. Like you
Mhm.
pay the bills, we all do. But you know what? Hire a dog walker,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And let's be realistic. If you had to be like put in a crate or isolated in a sense where you have nobody for the next what, eight to 10 hours, right?
Mhm.
Hire a dog walker.
Yeah.
Have them come twice a day.
Mhm.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, just that 15-20 minute walk
Mhm.
makes such a difference to that dog.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Counter conditioning and association. So we mentioned this briefly. Well, we sort of started alluding to it when we were talking about building confidence and mental challenges. But this is where, for people who don't know what counter conditioning is, and there's a lot of different definitions of it out there, but for us and how we use counter conditioning, how we define it, is where we get a dog when they're behaving the way that we want them to after we've done the confidence boosting and the behavior modification. Now we're creating a positive association. So where the counterpart comes in is we've gotten them to do different behavior than what they were doing before. Counter conditioning. So we had one behavior, now we're countering that with a different desired behavior. And now that we're getting that new behavior, we want to make sure we condition the dog, meaning that we're going to create this association and do it repetitively enough that it becomes their new muscle memory, to the point where, okay, so for instance, this dog was afraid of loud noises. Now we're going to make loud noises every time the dog doesn't respond. We're going to reward it with food, with affection, with praise, whatever's going to motivate that dog. We are now creating a counter conditioning association to the stimuli that they were previously had a negative association to. That's the counter conditioning. We're teaching this dog, hey, you know what? Noises, things that you were deathly afraid of before, now you're going to want to run to it and be like, okay, where's my treat? Where's my affection? Where's my praise? I am actually looking forward to the noises because I know it now means something really awesome. Okay. That's counter conditioning. That's how we use it. And so we want to create that counter conditioning / association to these triggers, whatever it was that they were previously reacting negatively to, and create that positive association so they're no longer afraid, one, but now they actually have a really amazing association to it. So they now become very confident at being able to approach this trigger that before they were afraid of, because now they're associating with something really positive. So we can't get to that point though until we've built up enough confidence in them to the point where they're not reacting negatively. So hopefully that clears things up. Any of you guys have any?
You know, the way I have,
And-
remember it is when I'm uncomfortable or anxious, if you know, a couple of $100 bills rain down from the sky,
Mhm.
I would be much less anxious.
There you go.
So
There you go.
That's kind of the visual I have.
That's an awesome visualization.
Um,
Awesome. So like in the dog world, what we would do
As
instead
far-
of money, it would be like, let's throw some steak or some chicken or, you know, whatever the pizza. Dogs love pizza. Cheese. They love cheese.
Yeah.
So let's throw all these goodies at them because they're going to just love that. It's like raining food. Like, how could you not love that after, you know, all this food is coming at you?
And Nicole, while we're on that topic, I think it's really important to tell owners too that, you know, to not make excuses for the dog. I think that that's a huge thing that I've seen is, maybe there's like a loud sound and
Mhm.
it's, oh, my poor baby, like, oh, that was like, that's why she's hiding, or that's why she's showing her teeth, or, you know, take that time if you notice that there's a reaction, especially at a young age, and work them through that process.
Right.
Don't just let them run and hide,
Mhm.
work
Or-
them through that process
Yeah.
at a
So the
younger
biggest mistake
age so
I
it
see
doesn't
people
get to that
make-
point when they're older.
Yeah, because to your point, what I hear a lot of people do is, oh, my dog's afraid of that, so let's immediately remove him from that situation and never expose him to it, right?
Mhm.
Or the other big mistake they make is, oh, you poor baby, constant affection, kiss,
Right.
kiss, kiss, kiss.
Mhm.
Let me give you a hug. Oh my goodness, you poor baby, you poor baby, you poor baby. It's just like, okay,
Well, then the dog thinks you're rewarding that behavior.
absolutely, absolutely,
That's
that's
the
what you're doing.
Mhm.
But owners don't recognize that. They're like, I just want to comfort my baby.
Mhm.
And what you're really doing in reality is reinforcing that state of mind.
Yep.
Mhm.
You're basically saying, oh, it's good that you're
Mhm.
feeling like this. I want you to feel like this. Continue to feel like this. Don't ever feel anything but this, because I'm going to keep rewarding you every time you feel like this.
Mhm.
And when you put it in that way, in that text, people were like, oh my gosh, I never realized I was actually making the problem worse.
Like their intention, their heart is in the right place.
Absolutely.
Okay, but them not realizing that they're actually rewarding it, they're actually feeding it, like they're
Mhm.
growing, they're helping it to grow.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's a perfect example, like thunderstorms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I mean, sometimes is it scary for us? Do you remember being a little kid hiding under the blanket because you were waiting for it to go boom?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, but everybody coddling the dog, it's just kind of one of those things. Like, you're okay.
Mhm.
Okay. But if you're down there, dogs feel your energy too. So if
Mhm.
you're like, oh my God, he's shaking, it's okay to feel this way. Keep shaking, keep shaking. So just like how you talked about the music therapy,
Mm-hmm.
that's a perfect situation right there. Find a video, play
Mhm.
that thunder on really low.
Mm-hmm.
Dog can tolerate it. Keep the dog busy. Play ball, right?
Yeah.
You talk about the things. Reward that dog. You want to play ball? Let's go. Let's play ball in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just keep the dog active, get the mind going, then
Yeah.
start amping up that thunderstorm. That
Mm-hmm.
you're playing it loud in the house and is not going to affect the dog anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what we do when we're counter conditioning.
Mhm.
And desensitizing, which is the last
Mhm.
part of what we're talking about here. So you want to desensitize your dog to whatever that trigger is, to the point where it's no longer an issue. It's part of what we do every day with training, where we, act all crazy. We do a lot of distractions. We make a lot of noise. We run around and scream and yell and make all sorts of weird sounds. And we're desensitizing the dog to these different noises and different things, different motions, because we want them to still maintain their composure no matter what we do. That's all part of desensitizing them. And for anxious cases, you want to desensitize them to whatever trigger is causing that anxiety, so that they realize, hey, you know what? This thing, there's really no reason to be anxious.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing bad is happening. And then eventually, once they stop reacting, again, you do the counter conditioning. And you now take that negative thing that was previously negative and turn it into a positive.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we work on regularly as dog trainers is from a distance. So
Mhm.
way less threatening till we get that reaction, and we're like, okay, from a block away is this dog's threshold. We love to talk about threshold, over threshold, under threshold as
Mhm.
dog trainers. So here I have a dog who's dog reactive or fearful. Okay, a block away across the street, the dog is not freaking out, but a half a block, now we're getting hackles up, well eye, lip licking, panting, all the signs. Okay, that's a little bit too close. Let's back up a little bit
Mhm.
and work slowly and steadily to reinforce and reassure the dog that nothing bad is happening.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple of different training techniques that you can use that we've discussed in previous podcasts, and also in other social media posts. If you want to take a look at it, it's the BAT and the CAT, where you use threshold as an integral part of desensitizing a dog and conditioning them to not respond. And again, if you want more information, you can reach out to us, but it's literally just taking a dog either toward a trigger and to that threshold and then moving it away. So one uses the dog that's in question to move towards it, and the other is using the trigger to move towards it. So, and that's in very simplistic terms, but we're not going to get too complicated here. But if you want to read more about it, feel free to reach out to us or look it up on our social media.
We much prefer not to medicate, and to definitely at first have a dog in its state, but it does have its place. So Shelby's going to just talk a little bit about medications and what is often used for dogs, and also a little bit about CBD, because we have noticed some good effects with certain dogs. Go ahead, Shelby.
Unfortunately, there isn't too much information on CBD because it's not regulated, but from our personal experiences, it has tremendously helped the dogs. I personally have, as she said, an anxious dog as well, and she is one of those dogs that unfortunately has to be on medication every single day. They haven't been able to pinpoint what she's allergic to. So she's one of those that's allergic to everything. So she actually has to be on Apoquel every day and Trazodone with it because of her separation anxiety. She gets her exercise and she gets a lot, but after battling it for a couple years, we had to just decide to give her the medicine constantly. So personally, I know that with her Apoquel, the Trazodone does help, but we have seen, of course, they give a lot of the dogs the SSRIs, the Prozac, actually they're given Xanax too, and a lot of those, which can actually be addicting to dogs like they are humans. So when they don't have them, they literally don't know how to act, which is, again, why they like to see them without them. There's tons and tons and tons of different types of medications that they have found to use. Unfortunately, it's kind of a trial and error with them to find the ones that work. And if you really want to go in depth with it, as they said, though, it's not a fix-all. And as it's up there.
Yeah, we just prefer, give it a chance.
Yeah.
Give us a chance with everything else we've been talking about. Let's get to the root causes. Let's get the mental, physical stimulation in there. Let's build their confidence. And then, then let's see where we're at. I think, like we've been seeing, people, it's hard to have the time and the commitment and the energy to do what's necessary for a dog in general, never mind a dog with anxiety.
Exactly.
And it's no quick fix. It's actually the opposite of a quick fix. Shelby, go on with nutrition.
From what I have also found, too much protein can have adverse effects and cause anxiety. Actually, even can cause aggression too. As I said with Riley, her allergies have caused a lot of issues with her. And food allergies also cause inflammation in the body, which also causes irritability, which of course causes anxiety in the dogs. Nutrition can also set off anxiety in dogs for many reasons, from imbalances to changing a diet too quickly, from adding new foods too quickly. Changing feeding times can cause anxiety in a dog because they're so used to certain things in certain times. And if they do not have them, they start freaking out. Hectic environments.
So a couple of things that I'm seeing here on the screen, Shelby, is improper feeding schedule can also lead to anxiety, especially over food itself. And surprisingly enough, inadequate carb intake. So there's been a lot of controversy about carbs in dogs' diets. And, people have said, oh, no, carbs are bad. Other people are saying, no, carbs are good. All protein diet is bad. No, it's the best thing on
Like-
planet Earth.
Like human diets.
Yeah.
Depends on the day, right?
Exactly. And who's talking and, which nutritionist is,
Mhm.
forefront in the day. But I mean, I would have to agree. Carb intake, you do have to
Sugar.
have some carbs for dogs. And a lot of people are like, oh, no, protein only.
Mhm.
But supposedly new studies have shown that, doing an all protein diet can be detrimental to dogs, especially some of their organs. But yeah, I can see where it would spike sugar levels and things like that. But just with anything, having a well-rounded diet, nutrition, making sure they're getting the proper nutrition, not just the proper amount of food. It has to be the right kind of food, obviously, so they're getting the proper nutrition and supplements if they're not, to kind of make up for that.
But it's a good first step, right? Obviously training,
Mhm.
right, and confidence building, but nutrition is a good next step where, hey, if I change the diet,
Mhm.
am I seeing a positive effect in behavior?
Yeah,
That's an
absolutely.
easy tweak.
Mhm. Yeah, and for those that don't already know, I feed my dogs raw. I've done it for years, probably almost 10 years now. And there's, I don't know everything about raw feeding. I'm even to this day still consider myself almost a novice, better than, I know more than most, but I still can always learn more about dogs' nutrition. But the way I look at it is, if it's good for me, and obviously it's not detrimental to a dog, because they do have, certain restrictions when it comes to people food. But basically, overall, nutrition is nutrition. Some things are good, some things are bad. Figure out what's good and what's bad for your particular dog, and make sure that you include the things that are good and eliminate things that are bad. And then, look at your dog's overall health. Like I said, I've been feeding my dogs raw for almost 10 years, and I have never had an issue with my dogs as far as their health. They're not having, all these allergies, and they're not having issues with their organs, or, all these unexpected health issues, or, just the numerous things that you hear dog owners, going to the vets for their dogs for. And a lot of it, I would attribute to their health, the health of their food, as well as, training and everything else that we do to keep them in line and keep them healthy and focused and functioning at optimal levels.
I think the inflammation part's also super interesting
Mhm.
too. The age anxiety is a thing with a dog getting older, and
Mhm.
if their diet is causing more inflammation, of course they're going to be more irritable. That's something that has not even really crossed my mind until Shelby was doing a lot of that research. And I think that's just a super interesting thing for owners to be aware of and keep an eye out on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people don't think about that. I mean, yeah, when we experience inflammation, yeah, it can be very irritating. So why wouldn't our dogs feel the same when, something is swelled up to 2 or 3 times more than it should be? It makes you very uncomfortable. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, well, for us, all this, we love to see good training, good nutrition, good leadership. Also, not just rote obedience. I think that's what I really am turned on about in Buck's dog training, is that we are really committed to helping the dog live in society and be as socialized as possible, not just this sit, come, heel place, which is all perfect, appropriate, and important, but how to make good decisions, how to
mhm.
fit in the world, how to fit in with a family to the best extent possible. So there is no one size fits all solution, right?
Mhm.
It is, dogs just like us are individuals, but it's definitely a great place to start, to take a look at some of those things to help with dogs with anxiety. The other thing that I think, just as an owner of 2 anxious dogs, is the support.
Mhm.
Like I had, and I know some people in this call right now can relate, I couldn't go anywhere
Mm.
for 2 years because
Wow.
nobody else could watch my dog.
Yeah.
you know, the amount of stress, it's not easy owning a dog in general, right? As much as we love them, they're great. They are a responsibility and a commitment. You add an anxious dog on top of that. When we brought our dogs home, we were going to have a party. We were going to have a christening. You know, we're those crazy people. We couldn't even have people in the house. We couldn't go on vacation for the first 2 years of our lives, you know? And now, fast forward, they're about to be 4. There's many people in my dog's lives and many people who can watch them. And that's due to good training and a good support system. So, you know, if you are having a dog with anxiety, like, you're not alone, reach out to a good trainer, get that support. We all expect to get this fluffy, happy puppy who loves everybody. That is not the real world. There is a high percentage of dogs that, just like people who do suffer with anxiety. So there is hope, there is help. And don't be ashamed if you need to reach out and get some support, because it is a heavy burden to deal with on your own without professionals.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So guys, thank you so much for putting this together. It was
Yeah.
really
Thank you.
a treat going through this and being able to see and learn something new, which is fantastic. I always say you're never too good to learn something new, and I wholeheartedly embrace that. I try and learn something new every day. And so hopefully this was informational and educational for those out there listening and watching. And if anyone does have any questions, if you have any issues, if you want to get in contact and connect with people who are in the same boat as you, who know what you're going through, reach out to us. We're here to help. We're here to listen. And, you know, we're here to be a resource. So give a shout out. You can text us, you can like us, you can share us, you can subscribe to us, and you can always DM, email, text.
Absolutely. Like, you're not alone. If you have a dog in this situation, think about just being able to get the courage, just make the phone call. There's no judgment, because
Exactly.
you're not the only one that's going through it.
Mhm.
And here's the thing, you're not going to be the last.
Yeah.
Right?
Half the dogs in existence right now.
Mhm.
Half the dogs. So for every
Yeah.
2 dogs you see, one of them is anxious. Think about that. All right, guys.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
And
This
we
was
will
great.
see
Thank
you
you.
on our next podcast.
Mhm.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Bye.